So, welcome, Namrata. I'm so glad to see you again, as I said, and welcome formally to this call. And why don't we start with you telling us something about yourself, not like the ISB interview, but just to introduce yourself to other people.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me here, Anshul. Hi, guys. Good morning. I know it's not very early in the morning, but I hope that whatever I say, do's and don'ts, can just provide thoda sa insight to help you in whatever journey you are deciding to embark on, especially for ISB. So my name is Namrata. I'm 25. I have been working I was working for 4.5 years. I've mainly come from a finance background. Prior to that, I was with Price. So just to give you a little context about my journey, so you'll understand that I'm not someone who's been very sure from day one about what I want to do. I played tennis for 10 years professionally. 4 shoulder injuries threw me out of the game. So I said, ठीक है अब क्या करें? Papa's done engineering. So I said, ठीक है engineering करते हैं. And I think 2 years into proper coaching, I realized कि नहीं ये तो मुझे नहीं करना है. So I ended up doing BBA in Christ. And over there also, because I came from a PCM background, I was very unsure about finance. But I knew कि marketing नहीं होगी मेरे बस की, because I had certain misconceptions, lack of exposure, lack of people around me that I could reach out to. So I said, ठीक है HR करते हैं. Just seemed like the easier option. So I interned with Deloitte, but I said, nahi, ye bhi nahi ho sakta mujhse. And then finally, in second year, I was one of the few people who got the Goldman Sachs internship. So I was working with them for 2 months, and I said, okay, this is something that seems doable. So I ended up taking finance, and I got placed with DE Shaw in the Hyderabad office. So I was with them for 2 years, and it was not a great fit for personal and professional reasons. So I said, okay, let's look for something better. Then I got the New York Stock Exchange ka role. They have an office. Unki parent company hai ICE, so they opened an office in Hyderabad. So I said, okay, let's take this up. So I again went back to Hyderabad the second time after COVID. And due to personal reasons, I had to leave the job in November. But thankfully, a couple of months ago, I have no idea how I ended up joining a WhatsApp group called Faith Career, where Anshul was there and Tanmay was there. And I genuinely don't remember how I joined that WhatsApp group. I think it was through a link on LinkedIn where I joined some other consultants group where someone mentioned this and they gave a link and I joined here. It was very mysterious, very mystical, I would say. And everyone started talking about how ISB applications are opening. So I said, okay, let's explore this, because masters was always something that, again, due to personal and professional reasons, I always was sure कि मुझे करना तो है. I wasn't someone who wanted to always just stay on an undergrad degree. And I think August is when, July and August is when I ended up talking to Anshul for the very first time for round 2. And yeah,
No, round one.
that's
Round one. You couldn't
round
apply.
1, correct. Yeah, correct. Round 1, but I was studying for another exam at the point, so I did not end up applying for round 1.
Yeah.
And round 2 is when I applied for, and I applied 2 days before the deadline got over. And yeah, the rest is history. I got waitlisted, and then I got converted from the waitlist automatically. So that's a little bit about me.
One thing I wanted to ask you, Namrata, because many people have this query. I mean, we will not take any names, but your job was getting very hectic
Right.
towards the end before you left the job.
Yeah.
And that was the time when you were also preparing for your GRE.
Right.
Many people ask you, okay, it gets very hectic while preparing for GMAT or GRE and doing a full-time job. So do you have any tips to give to such people, how exactly to manage? Because I know for a fact that your was extra crazy. I mean, you
Yeah.
really did not have much time in your hands to prepare for your exam.
Yeah, so you're right, Anshul. 2 reasons why my work got really hectic was because I was working night shift. I was working 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., which automatically, like, कहने को it's 12 hours and people might be working 14 hours, but those 12 hours in the night translates to like 18 hours in the day. So that was horrible. And second, there were obviously a lot of things going on in the workplace. We were a very small 3-member team. But I think I was very sure that no matter what I have to get a decent score. And for that, I was doing small things. Like, for example, I had to prioritize. Like for those 2 months, I stopped going to the gym. I stopped Netflix. I closed all the apps on my phone. And these are very small things that seem very, very dramatic, but they are very helpful. Like I shut down Instagram. I shut down LinkedIn also for those 2 months because I was just mindlessly scrolling. And I cut down on sleep a little bit. I stopped doing everything apart from work at the point. And luckily for me, during the last couple of weeks, because I think I was on notice period, so obviously thoda sa the load goes down. But so I was able to study in office a little bit. So I was trying to not scam, but I was trying to just play a little smart. Ki, acha, okay, if I have half an hour meeting, I'll attend this from home where I know I'm not needed, so I can study. Or like small things, like for example, my English was always weaker than my maths. So the Magoosh app is really helpful. So my office में बैठ के scroll करे जा रही हूँ on the Magoosh app. You know, I'm doing all of those things where I'm just trying to utilize whatever time I can. And obviously small things like I'm cutting down talking to a lot of people. I'm not going out for movies. I didn't have a huge circle in Hyderabad, but to whomsoever I was meeting regularly, I sort of said, listen, 2 months I'm on lockdown mode, because I said this took priority over everything. But I do get it, it gets extremely intense. I think the only thing that you can do is make a list of things that are not important for that time being. Not that your friends are not important, your partner, your parents, all of those are important. I've also maintained all of that. But for those 2 months, I think it's important to just give a very clear vibe to everybody that you're on lockdown mode, because it's do or die for those 2 months. Because us time mein nahi karoge, to then you come back a year later. So it's up to you whether those 2 months are more valuable or that 1 year. And I think if you have supportive people, they will definitely say ki nahi, nahi, you please do what you need to do, sort of thing. But yeah, very small things, like maine Insta band kar diya, and I realized that that saved a lot of time. I was watching repeats of stupid shows that I've seen on Netflix, which I might even do a year later, but I shut it for that moment. I did those small things which really helped. Uske bina to I don't think I would have been able to. Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Namrata, for your insights. One more thing I wanted your opinion on. 90% of the people have this preparation strategy. First, I will do GMAT and GRE. Once I have the score, then I will start the application. Strongly suggested against it. And even though you had such a hectic routine, you immediately listened
Yeah.
to me, started your application much before GRE. How did it make
Yeah.
a difference in your candidates, in your entire preparation?
Yeah, so for me, I didn't know a lot of people who had done this procedure. Like I do know IIMs, but I wasn't very closely associated with them. So it wasn't like I had a hand on my head guiding me, except you. So I think when you told me ki don't just study, do it simultaneously, I said, ठीक है. So in the first couple of weeks, because I was studying for my finance ka paper, I said, मैं essays तो खत्म कर देती हूँ. Because
Yes.
you had the essay call with me with our group very early on,
Yes.
and you said that that definitely counts for a lot. So I obviously took your word for it, and whomsoever we spoke to after that said ki essays are extremely important. Matlab, you can't say ki the score is a number, so it takes more importance. So I think essays was something that I just got out of the way ASAP, because I think that was something where, like you had mentioned, my idea was always to reduce your workload and mine obviously, but also to just make sure कि जो मुझसे अभी हो पा रहा है वो मैं फटाफट कर देती हूँ, because पढ़ाई simultaneously चलती रहेगी. So whatever half an hour breather I was taking in between a class or work and padhai, I was like ऐसे लिखो, and like small things where I was not sure, so I was just noting down my phone and texting you saying कि ये 3 positives हैं, इसमें से बताओ मैं कौन सा लूँ, या ये 4 negatives हैं, what do I count as a weakness. So I
Yes.
think those things I got very early on, and obviously it was only because you gave us that platform early on. I knew what to do. Like I got started on that, so it was up to me. So I said ki I don't want to leave it for the end, because I also had to keep a buffer for a second attempt. I
Yes.
remember I was not planning on it very early on. And I
Yes.
was like, नहीं नहीं एक ही बार देंगे and all of that. But you very categorically said कि वो 20,000 जो आप पेपर के दोगे वो आप अभी भूल जाओ, उसका बफर रखो, आप लेके चलो 40 का एग्जाम, 40-50 लेके चलो आप का
Yes.
एग्जाम है. And I think that is something, had I not done that, I would have been screwed. I would, because my first score was, even my second score was not that great, but my first score was not great. तो उसके साथ मैं अप्लाई फिर भी करती, but I think कि in my head my cutoff was 320, 321. I said इसके ऊपर अगर जाएगा, I will be at least peacefully able to apply. उसके नीचे तो मतलब I will just apply for the heck of it. So that.
I do be very frank, your score still is very low when you compare to ISB's average. It's very,
100%, yeah.
very low.
Yeah.
So, which leads me to the next question. Any tips for application writing to everyone? Like, what exactly is important? What should we deep dive on? How much time we should give, according to you?
Okay, so I'll go from personal experience. This might not work for everybody, but this is clearly my opinion. This is not a general formula or a template. I started studying around September. September, October is when I studied. November is when I gave the exam. So I had about 2 weeks, 2 months, just I had a lot of other things going on. So those 2 months were not very, very like concrete. But I think the important thing is that your essays will take time, especially if you are not someone who's very comfortable with writing. I'm someone who can write a lot. आप मेरे को 400 वर्ड बोलते 4000 बोलते हैं आपको लिख के देते. But for people who are not very comfortable with writing or who have undergone situations in life, good and bad, which are difficult to count and articulate, I will definitely recommend please get started on the essays as early as possible. And even if, for example, you end up missing a call with Anshul or you don't have his guideline, which was obviously a lifesaver, there are ample things on the internet जो at least आपको
Yes.
थोड़ा सा rough idea दे सकते हैं to get started on.
Yes.
Right? So at least something, I mean, even if your essay is not at 8 on 10 or 9 on 10, you can at least get started. कि आप उसको fine tune बाद में कर सकते हो, but at least get started because that, like for example, if they're asking you to mention one strength and one weakness or one achievement and one failure, it is going to take you time, even if you're 18, 19, even if you're 25, 30, it's going to take you time to look back at all of those years and say कि मैं एक वो क्या पकड़ूं, incident. And you have to obviously look at your personal and your professional life because they don't just want work oriented information. They want to know you as a whole in whatever way possible. So one tip will definitely be get started as early as possible. सबके अपने restraints होते हैं, constraints होते हैं, but keeping in mind your situation, as the earlier the better, there is no doubt. Even if you're not looking at round 1, don't just look at round 2 or round 3 and start 1-2 mahina pehle. Like start as early as possible. And second thing would be, if you're taking the GRE or the GMAT, whichever one is your preference, please keep a second attempt ka buffer. Even if you are super smart, please keep second attempt ka buffer.
Extremely smart people like going
Tank it. Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah.
Not only
So
in
that is,
GRE, but also in the
yeah.
ISB application.
Yeah, please keep a buffer. And third, the one thing that Anshul told me the first day that is still stuck in my head as an approach, which I will live by for the rest of my life. If there is something that has happened and you can't change it, and it has some contribution in your present or your future, let it go because you can't do anything about it. Like even when I got waitlisted and I was fairly certain I would get a rejection email, the reason I bought GRE का book was because I said at least इसको तो मैं बढ़ा सकती हूँ ना, this तो I know I can improve. WorkX का मैं कुछ नहीं कर सकती, अब तो वो और बिगड़ गया है. Because in my head I was like, now I'm unemployed for 5 months.
Yes.
4 months. So I said my profile is just going to get worse as the months go by if I don't pick up a job, which I wasn't getting that easily also because my filters were also very high in terms of work and location. So I said GRE is the only thing right now that I can do. Essays I can start on, but because my conversation with Anshul regarding the essays was positive, I said I'll fine tune these. But GRE is something which I knew was on the lower side. So I said isko to kar hi sakte hain. So again, the third tip will be ki if you can't change something, whether it's your academics, whether it's your work, just let it go. Like just brush it under the carpet and pick up on items which you can improve and just give your best to sort of fix those. So yeah.
I had, I mean, of course, I said it to everyone. And then there is this guy called Himanshu who is joining IIM Bangalore tomorrow. He also mentioned in the group that this had been the biggest learning from you, that it is difficult to to not keep thinking of those things that you can, but it is very important because he had 3 years of study gap. Yeah, sorry, WorkX gap after he graduated because he was preparing for ISB and preparing for UPSC, not ISB. And everyone told him this is going to be a big hurdle if you plan to do your MBA. And people had told him this so much that it was stuck in his head. And he kept asking me, will it affect me? Will it affect me? Will it affect me? I said, yeah, it will. But can you do something about it? You can.
That's the same thing. Yeah,
just
true.
Get it out of your system and just do whatever you have to do in the next few months. Anyway, great. Namrata, now what happened during your interview according to you? Because this even I do not know. I mean, of course, you briefed
Yeah.
me, but we
Yeah.
couldn't get a chance to talk to you. I couldn't get a chance to talk to you after your interview was over because just when
Yeah.
interview was over, the IIM Bangalore or Calcutta deadline was on my head. So I
Right.
was prioritizing those people. Even I want to know what happened in your interview and what exactly do you think they were trying to judge or they were trying to get some info out of you? What exactly was happening?
Okay. So most of my essays, because I knew that the interview will be based a lot on the essays, like that will give them sort of like a trailer or a sneak peek into who I am as a person and what my journey has been like. Just to give you guys context, most of my essays, all three of them had tennis mentioned in achievements and failure
And you
because there
asked
were
me,
certain,
is it okay? You were writing
yeah.
everywhere. I said it is not okay. It's more than important.
Yeah. So I had mentioned that I was playing for 10 years, but then I did not continue with that. And I did sort of, I think, a very clear, like अगर वो एक road map बना लेते अपने दिमाग में, they would know that I've sort of been all over the place. Like my journey has not been that I knew when I was 15 that I want to be like a trader, for instance, right? So a lot of my essays were centered around that. And the second was that personally, it's been a lot of upar niche in a lot of ways. So those aspects were also mentioned. So I think interview me, what happened was, again, I was very unsure ki, will I have people who are from the finance domain mapped to me? So from what I understood, it's not intentional ki, they'll try to map your company people or your sort of industry people to you. It's very, so for me, I had, I think so I had two people batch of 2010 and 2014, I think, and two guys on the panel. And I had opted for the offline in-person interview in Delhi, but for whatever reasons, they got postponed and everything became online. So I was very disappointing because I feel like there's a certain vibe I can give in person जो online शायद नहीं आ ठीक से, but ठीक है, couldn't help that, so moved on. Two people on the panel, I think around 35-40 minutes kind of interview, where they started off giving an introduction. One came from a marketing background, one came from a business background. And they asked me to give an intro about myself. So because I was interviewing for jobs, I was so used to that question. But I realized that I'm not asking them to place me right now. I'm asking them to let me in. So that had to change, where I again had to move in a way ki, I mentioned this in my essay. So it's important to be in sync with what I'm saying now. So I gave an introduction telling them this is what my journey's been like. And I've been born and brought up here. I've studied here, moved here, all of that. And so I think over the 40 minutes, they were looking at a couple of things. First, they wanted to know why I left the job, why ISB was important to me. They very categorically asked me, have I applied anywhere else? And this is something a lot of people struggle with, I feel, to
Hmm.
answer if they have applied, because do you want to lie and tell them, no, ISB is my only choice, or that particular university, or do you want to tell them, ki, obviously, I'm keeping my options open because I don't know if you guys will take me. But for me, I had only applied here. So they were like, Acha, theek hai. You can tell us if you've applied elsewhere. I said, nahi, I've not applied elsewhere. I've only applied here. Then they were more keen to find out why I feel an MBA will help me, because the position I was at, role wise and money wise, was not bad. It was not great. I wasn't like earning 30 lakhs a year, but I wasn't earning like 3 lakhs. So they knew that I was in a decent bracket for someone with my qualification. So they said, but on the trajectory you're continuing, you will sort of be okay. Like why do it now? Why not do it pehle? So all of those reasons I had to sort of obviously use my own personal experience and reasons to tackle, saying that this is what I feel is the right decision for me, because over the last 3-4 years I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. It's the last 2 years where I was sure कि मेरे को थोड़ा derivative side जाना है market के. I
Hmm.
wrote a paper, I cleared the first level of FRM, so I was like ठीक है, look, I'm studying and working in the same domain, and now I want to change gears. And my idea has always been to change gears using the best possible method. Like when I was training for tennis, I was training under the best. So for me, if I want to reach a certain place, I want to go through a passage which is the best. Like at least I want to try for it. So that's what I told them. Ki, this is why ISB. It was a very cliched answer, but in a way, I didn't say I want to go because you're the best. I said it because I want to use a path that puts me somewhere, and I feel ISB is the right tunnel, which will sort of show me the light at the end. That sort of thing. Then I think other things that they wanted to know were, they were not from a finance background, so they wanted me to explain what I was doing in layman terms,
Yes.
and that's what I did. That's what I did, and I remember them very and they didn't say it, "Kya bachcho jaise samjhao hame." They said, "We don't know, so tell us." And because I also didn't know 2 years ago, someone told me, so I explained it to them in a way I would explain it to my 10-year-old brother. And they, at the end of the 5-minute monologue, said, okay, now we understand what you're doing. Like, now we understand how the markets work for this particular thing happening. So all of those things, I think, became very, very positive. And for me, I've realized in interviews, again, it's a very person to person thing, might not be the best advice, but I'm not very formal and scared. I'm not like, yes, sir, hello, sir, okay, so I can breathe when you tell me to breathe. So I'm more of, okay, if you're having a conversation with me, hand gestures, sipping water in between, like, don't make it look like you're so scared and you're putting them on a pedestal where they can throw you out or they can kick you, put them, because they are trying to have a conversation with you. They were more ki, acha batao, what's happening in your family, is everything okay? I told them emergency ki wajah se I came back. So they said, what if you leave? I said, no, but this was never a long-term plan, so we've got things figured out. So it was more of a conversation about everything I mentioned on the essays. There was no grilling involved. Thankfully, I had prepared also. I was reading up on what's happening in the market. If there is someone who's super aware, they shouldn't think I'm an idiot who's just left the job and doesn't know anything happening anymore.
Right.
But it was more of a conversation, might be different for other people, but I felt for me, I was casual, I was relaxed, I was like, okay, if this happens. I think my body language and the way I was talking and what I was saying was very key. Yes, I want this, but I want it if it's best for me. Like, I don't want it because, oh, I will die if I don't get it.
Right.
So I think that sort of radiated in my voice, because I was talking to them like how I'm talking to all of you right now. And from whatever excerpts I had read, जो आपने मेरे से links share करी थी, and whatever else I had been reading and hearing and talking to people, जो सारा group के through हो रहा था, because मेरा और कोई उस time network नहीं था. And I think it was all key. It was a very, very different experience for everybody. So I was like, ठीक है, let's in our head. They thankfully did not ask me a lot of very strict ISB related questions, but they did sort of ask me, do you think the clubs can help you? Do you think you want to be in a place of responsibility at some point? All of those things were very, like, they just wanted to gauge कि तुम पढ़ने आ रहे हो, बातें करने आ रहे हो, party करने आ रहे हो, and whether you really want this and whether you really need this or not. So those were like the things that they were trying to gauge.
And we had already somehow covered it in essay 3, even though 250 words was the limit.
100%.
That too, that essay was not mandatory.
Yeah.
I know that they will kind of ask these questions. At least 50% of the panel will ask these questions. So it's a good idea to just put it in essay 3, even though essay 3 is not really asking for that. Just put it so that you get a direction and then you can, elaborate on those points. One thing, one more thing you mentioned, Namrata, and this I want to tell to everyone. The way Namrata what just mentioned, why ISB, the answer to why ISB should always be personalized. You cannot say, oh, it's a great school, it has very good diversity, it has global professors. Yeah, but it is for everyone. What are the key features of ISB which you will use to propel your own career? That is the most important. That is the most suitable way to answer. If you're not able to answer it in that way, no matter what kind of panel it is, they are not going to like it. So that is a very important point to mention, and I'm glad you remember all these small things. Even it's
no, and I'll tell you why I remember this, Anshul. 2 days before the interview.
Nishant, please mute yourself. Nishant, please. Otherwise,
sorry, Anshul.
Yeah, please mute now. Yeah.
Why I mentioned it and why I explicitly remember is because 2-3 days before I had spoken to you saying ki, I have a week left and I don't have time for mocks.
Yeah.
So you said, ठीक है, at least अपने आप जितना कर सको एक तो कर लो, and I said एक भी कर पाऊंगी तो मैं 1 घंटा भी निकालूंगी तो I will try to do it with you. But that's how much of a crunch I was on, that I could not spare even an hour. And how I was preparing was because those links opened on the phone. I was scrolling while I was in the metro. I was scrolling while I was traveling. So I think 2 days before the interview, I called up a friend who is a senior from my firm. And I said, listen, you need to tell me if there's anything that I'm missing, just to hear it from someone who's cleared it. And he said, listen, they love to be patronized and you have to just tell them that it's do or die for ISB. So I said, okay, that I've understood, but like they want to hear that you're the best, but I can't say you're the best. And he said, yeah, figure out ways to tell them they're the best. And I said, okay, let me in my head. And I'm just thinking and I'm Googling it. How do I tell a university I want to get in? How does that happen? But in my head, I was like, Google is not going to be helpful. No excerpt, nobody is going to be helpful. It has to come from, and I think the thing that worked is that I used the example of tennis, because when I was playing, I was training under Mahesh Bhupati and I've played with the undercase.
Yeah.
So I was playing under the academy where all these three people have gone from. I've played with Yuki. I've been in that circle. My brother's still playing in that circle. So I told them that, listen, when I want to play tennis, I was sure I want to play tennis now. तो मैंने इनके साथ खेला. मैंने लल्लू पंजू के साथ नहीं खेला, मैंने इनके साथ खेला. तो जब मुझे पता है that I want to be in an XYZ position 3 years later, 5 years later, or 20 years later, I know the route I want to take, and that's you. Now, whether you think I'm worthy of it or not is your decision. And I told them in a very polite way that this is my option. Now, whether you meet me halfway or not is going to be your call. But that's all I can tell them. So that way.
That is very important. I mean, if you are able to answer that question properly, half of the battle is already won during the interview. And also not only properly, but also able to convince them that, yeah, this is a very well thought of path, and I know why am I coming here, and I know what will I do with everything that you will be providing me for the 1 year. Anyway, I speak a lot, so now I will open the session for questions, guys. Trust me. I mean, many people are going to ISP, but not everyone is like Namrata. I'm not saying she's unique, but I'm saying she has this capability of giving very honest insights, which are very doable. I don't think she will give you something which is she will give an advice which is very run of the mill, which you can anyway, which will anyway be very commonsensical. So please use this time to just ask anything that you have, and no doubt is a silly doubt. I repeat.
Yeah, that's true.
Namrata literally started from where you all are today. She did not start with any extra information or anything. I mean, she was one of you when she started. We'll wait for 1 or 2 minutes so that we can
sure.
ask the questions. Otherwise, I will restart.
Hey, hi, I have a question. Even though I can ask this one-on-one, I'll choose to ask this here. Uh, Out of this whole journey, and I know you've been through a lot, things have been a roller coaster, right? What is the most difficult part of the entire MBA journey at ISB, of getting into ISB? What do you think was the most difficult part and something that somebody else will also have to go through? And how did you deal with it?
Very good question.
Okay, so for me, again, it's a very personal thing. I don't think it will apply to everybody. For me, it was thinking that I could get in. For me, it was just believing that I could actually end up sitting in class. I wanted it. I remember going for an info session, and I told Anshul this. I was sitting in one of those theaters where they were having the session, and I remember sitting inside and thinking, I want to be here in 6 months. And I messaged Anshul saying, I'm sitting in the theater, and there was an info session going on with the admissions team. And I said, I just want to be sitting here, not as a participant, as a student. I want to be sitting here with my name tag. But for me, I think I'm someone who gets a little intimidated when I hear the who's who of, the crowd is in ISB. And the kind of people that I know who've gotten in, they are qualification wise higher. They come from better financial background. So for them, the pressure is less. Their journey has been easier from what I know of it. But I think for me, it was just motivation was a huge, not motivation to go, but motivation to believe and keep going. And for that, I'm genuinely grateful for two people. First is obviously Anshul and Tanmay. The second is my partner. He is somebody who has fought with me left, right, center. I was talking to Tanmay about this the other week. He is somebody who has fought with me left, right, center for me to write the second attempt, to cancel trips, to cancel weekends to meet so that I study. And while he had nothing to do during that time. So I think for me, it was just believing that I could get in and not even the believing part, the acting on it part became a little, because the kind of people that I knew were going there I said, listen, it's not going to be easy, but I won't be surprised if I didn't get in, because I didn't feel I was in that league of people. And whatever stories I was seeing on the group, I mean, people were scoring 339, and the kind of things they were doing, the resources they were using, and I was like, listen, I don't think I'm up there yet. So that for me was and I remember Anshul kept telling me, stop. He used to just text me. He's like, I'm not talking to you if you're going to be this pessimistic. And he used to cut the call. He's like, fix your attitude, then we'll talk. And this happened once or twice. It wasn't very, very, very
Yeah,
often.
there
But
was
yeah,
1 hour
did.
rant also one day. I was very patient. Like, okay. 1 hour it went and went and went. I said, if
Yeah.
it helps her to just get this out of her system,
Yeah.
then let her talk. Because
Yeah. So I think that is, sorry.
just a month before your deadline.
Yeah. Yeah. I was unsure. I was not happy with the score, but I said, okay, let's just shoot an arrow, aim karke, and let's hope it sticks. So that.
One thing I would want to add to that, Namrata, for everyone, not for you. ISB is a school for average people. Okay. I understand there are a lot of overachievers there, but you can compare those overachievers to people who are going to Wharton and Stanford as well. So then they will
Yeah.
become anyone can go to ISP if they just do what they are asking you to do. They are asking you to have a decent GMAT or GRE. They are expecting you to write a very strong application. They're expecting you to be very clear about your motivation to do an MBA during the interview. You do these things properly and do not take anything for granted, and then you will get in. They are asking for a few parameters, and I keep discussing those parameters, right? So you do those, you take care of those parameters properly. They are expecting that your communication skills should be really good, and you work for it. Like Namrata, for you, for example, as you can see, guys, for Namrata, communication was not a problem at all. But there have been people for whom communication was a major challenge. I don't know how many you attended the call with Munindra. He's from IIT BHU, but he had issues. IIT BHU, of course, a very smart guy, but he had major issues with communication, and he really worked very hard to overcome it. I mean, you guys have no clue. Namrata didn't take any mocks because of her personal reasons. She was very occupied with whatever was going on her in personal life. Look at what Munindra did. He took 8+ mocks and took 30 hours one-to-one training with Tanmay. And he got 2 admits. Last year he had 0. He had applied last year as well, because he understood that this parameter is very important and he's not going to go ahead if he is weak in communication. You figure out what are the parameters, you figure out this is where I'm lacking, and you just work hard for it.
Yeah.
For Namrata as well, we had to revise the essays, especially essay one, over and over again. 3 times, the only I remember. I don't know how many times she would have revised it before sending it to me, because the challenge, what I faced, what was the challenge I faced while working on her application? She was all over the place. She had done small things here and there, and one big thing, that was tennis, but it was so early in her career. Now putting everything together to build a holistic personality to show in the application, that was a big challenge. She was not taking a straight path. She was like doing zigzag, still trying to figure out, still very young. She's not 30 years old who has a certain kind of career path already, like what happened with Devesh in the last call. So again, but she had figured that out. She knew from day one that this zigzag path is an issue. This will
Yeah.
be an issue, and that's why she started very early. I told you that day also. She was round 2 applicant in December, and by August, SA1 was done, because SA1 took a lot of time, and we really kind of focused a lot on SA1 to get it right. Anyway, but great points, Namrata, and also as some,
One thing that I just want to add is that it's very important for you to be honest to yourself.
and to your
You
mentor,
might not be,
your mentor.
you might be 80% honest to Anshul, but it's important for you to then to be 150% honest to yourself, to understand what your strengths and weaknesses are. Like I was, and that doesn't have to stem from overconfidence. That just has to stem from, acha, if I know I can write, like I'll be comfortable writing, so let me just get this wrapped up. If you know you struggle with that, then take help in that. Like I remember Tanmay also telling me how he's worked with people who were not very good with communication or other soft skills, where he's also been taking these sessions. And I think it's just important for you to be able to identify what you are good. Like I knew my English in the GRE was going to be a mess, so I gave more time to that. Lesser time than I would have wanted to, but still more time to that. So whoever you're working with, if you're working alone, I hope you're taking Anshul's help. I mean, I hope to God you're taking Anshul's help, because it's genuinely going to it's going to make a difference. I mean, in everything, not just in knowing things or writing your application, but in a lot of ways where he's told me things that he doesn't realize. He's just told me as a flow mein that have immensely helped. Uske bina nahi hota. Like, it's not to patronize him and say it because he's in front of me or because I got an admit. I messaged him and then meant the same thing, saying I got waitlisted and it doesn't look like it's going to happen because it was a lower quartile. But wherever I have reached is because you have pushed me till this point. And there are some things जो I do feel थोड़ा destiny में भी लिखा होता है. But having said that, I feel like you definitely need a hand on your head to help you through this. And yeah, but whoever you're working with, just make sure that you're, say, honest to yourself, whether it's just you or Anshul, and that will save a lot of time for you and for Anshul in the process.
Right. Also, the way you mentioned about your partner, I also strongly feel you need a support system back at home as well. Most
Yeah.
of my candidates who are successful, they had a strong support system back at home who kind of helped them while they were going through this grueling phase of application, full-time job, things going bad at work. Some people were playing like that day, our last call with Devesh, she was actually out of country during the submission deadline. Imagine we were working in different time zone.
Oh
So
God.
yeah. But you need a strong support system back at home. So guys, because
Yeah.
it's still time, uh, sometimes your partner, your parents, your husband or wife, they know that you are doing all this, but sometimes you should go and express them that, hey, few months are going to be difficult. I
Yeah.
need you to support me.
Yeah.
And
At the least, you need people to not make it harder for you. Like,
yes.
there are three stances. It's pro, it's anti, and it's neutral. You don't need anti people in this process, because it's going to be for whatever university you're applying, it's going to be very, very grueling in a lot of ways, physical and financial and emotional.
Yes.
So if you don't have people who are very understanding of the situation, there will be, for me, out of, let's say, 10 people, 8 did not understand at all, and they're still holding on to those things. You just need two. Even if you don't have those two who are pro, you need people who are just neutral, who don't have a lot of expectations, and who are not making it harder than it is for you at the time.
Yeah, because you just mentioned about the support, and I just got reminded of my time when I was preparing. I made myself underground. I didn't tell any of my friends or anyone that I was preparing, but I used to talk to my mother every day on phone for 1 hour in the evening, just to let everything out because it was so
Same.
stressful. It was crazy
Same.
stressful.
Same.
And I got all the
Same.
bad habits during that time, like sleep,
Yeah.
sleep schedule got screwed up, smoking. I smoke like crazy, which I'm not very proud of. But all the bad
Yeah.
habits, even I have fewer habits I still carry with me today, all started during that GMAT and application time. Everything started there.
Yeah.
So it's very important that you have a support system back at home. If you do not, please find someone out. Maybe just get a friend so that you can just talk to that friend at the end of the day that, hey, this is all what is happening, and this is getting, some things might go out of your hand. You'd focus on round one and then you need to push to round two. You might need
Yeah.
so many attempts to get to the final score. You your application might not start getting stronger when you start drafting it. So many things might happen.
Yeah.
So be ready. And this is the time to just buckle yourself up. Okay, again, I'm speaking a lot. So guys, please ask your queries rather than me blabbering again and again. But these are this is why I do these calls. In every call, something new comes up, which I
Yeah.
that it
True.
should be addressed.
True. True. That's true.
Guys, you can unmute yourself and ask. I have given the permission to unmute, or you can type in the chat as well, but it would be better if you unmute.
Hi, Namrata.
Hi, Vineet.
First and foremost, congratulations for your ISB convert.
Thank you.
I want to ask a personal question because as I heard your journey, you are from the finance background and you have been working in the derivative space. So I come from the finance background itself, and I want to understand a few things that you might have done in the finance domain that might have helped you land the seat at ISB? Like, did you pursue any certifications? Were they about CFA level 1, level 2, or any kind of certification or training that you have gone through during your job that can add value to your overall profile?
Okay, I'll be honest, which obviously, again, like Anshul mentioned, I would not have said this to a third person, but I'll be honest here. I wanted to do CFA in college because peer pressure. But I think it became worse when I joined my first job in DShaw in the research team, where I realized everybody was either a CA or a CFA or an FRM, or they were doing something or the other. They were doing certifications and things I didn't even know the full form of. I didn't know they existed. So it really, really made my life hell those 2 years because I was that unsure. And because I came from a science background, my accounts till date is zero. Like we were just talking before the call that, accounts is something which I'm still dreading. But anyway, COVID se just pehle I decided to do CFA because I said, why not? Everybody's doing it. People who are not as smart as me are doing it. So let me give it a shot. And I failed the first exam. I did not clear it. And obviously accounts is what drowned me. And not just the 1 lakh that goes into it. It's very demotivating emotionally because you don't clear it, right? So I said, okay, I don't want to do this. But when I switched jobs and I moved into the derivating space, which I believe was a very, very good thing to have come my way work profile wise. And I really started enjoying. I was in the pricing, commodity derivative pricing team at ICE. So I really enjoyed that. So I said, okay, I'm understanding the work, but I don't have like a very solid conceptual backing. So I started studying for FRM. Again, I think I started studying in Jan and I gave the exam in August end. So FRM level 1 is what? Part 1 is what I've cleared. That's all. Apart from that, I've not done anything. I'm like, why I think Anshul has been reinforcing this call with me is because I genuinely have come from a very vanilla space, to be very
Not
honest.
you. No,
And I'm not.
I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off. Not only you. None of my candidates are overachievers. Nothing, no spikes, nothing. Like you still have a spike.
Yeah.
Your tennis, even though it was long ago, it is still
Yeah.
will still be considered as a spike. But
Yeah.
अगर आप FRM नहीं भी करते तो कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So Vineet, the answer to your question is none of the certifications or upskilling help at ISP.
Help, yeah.
It is good to have, but they do not help. It doesn't matter. ISB को कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. You have to take care of the 5 parameters. I repeat, go back to basics. Those 5 parameters are important. If you're able to do those 5 good in 5, and none of the parameters have certification or how much upskillings or anything courses you have done. They don't really care.
Yeah.
From people from TCS with 2 years of experience are going with 12.5 lakh scholarship. What will a guy in TCS would have done in 2 years? That too in 2 years, imagine. Doesn't.
Yeah.
At least for ISP, I'm not sure about other schools. Even ISB and even Indian-based schools.
See, Vineet, from what I've understood, for me in the finance space, I had 3 brands. I had Goldman, I had DShaw, and I had ICE. But from what I've understood and from what I've seen on the group, there are people coming from finance spaces with no brands on their name. So again, like when you're asking what I've done extra, FRM ka result happened 1 week before my application started. I don't think that was a contributing factor because they would have been like, it was abhi kiya hai bas. That I passed it in September of 2023. So I don't think that was a huge differentiating factor. I don't think at the end of the day, I don't think the brands also played that big a deal. Like, I don't think they looked at it and said, oh, she's employable and let's bring her in. I don't think that, because had that been the criteria, there wouldn't have been people coming in with gap, with coming from smaller firms or smaller businesses that they hold, right? So all of those things, I mean, if you're asking for what I did differently to be in the job space, that's a different thing. But I don't think those things were very, very big on the ISB criteria. Yeah.
Brands do not matter at all. Neither your college brand nor your professional brand at all. I mean, I'm speaking with a louder voice so that you guys should drill it deep down in your head that these things do not matter. I know these are the myths that keep floating, but
yeah,
I worked in a company whose sixth employee, I was sixth employee. So they didn't even know the name of the company. It doesn't matter.
yeah. And like I mentioned, my panel didn't know anything about finance. They didn't know, like when I tell them ICE, Intercontinental Exchange, their faces are blank. So I'm like, New York Stock Exchange, uski parent company. They're like, acha, oh, to karte kya stocks mein invest karte hain? I'm like, nahi, sir, it's an exchange, but it's not stocks. Like you can't buy and sell directly. So they're like, then what do you do? What do you price? So वो ऐसे बात कर रहे थे, not in this tone where it came across as rude, but like they were that curious because they were that unaware. So I don't think like how it works in HR, like how it works in HR departments and offices is key. If you're applying, like for example, if I'm applying for, let's say BSc or NSc right now, so they will have brackets of colleges or companies which are graded in A grade, B grade, C grade. That helps in my cumulative score. So for them, brand matters. Like when I went to ICE, they were like, "Acha, sure se hai, theek hai, okay, 8 on 10, 9 on 10, whatever their marks are." That way, ISB का ऐसा कुछ system नहीं है.
At times, IIMs might look at your brand names to look at your employability. I'm not sure that they do, but the kind of students they end up taking, it looks like a very ready-made laundry list. But again, that myth is slowly busting as well. IIM Ahmedabad gave an admit to Sindhura, who is working in her own clinic, and on paper she does not look employable at all. But she has great capabilities to actually get employed in great companies. So they are able to identify those skills through the interview, that those soft skills which make you employable rather than just going by pointers and numbers on your resume. That's why they are taking these deep diving interviews. So earlier I used to think IIMs take that approach, but now this, especially after this year, I don't think even IIMs take that approach that, okay, good brand names, employability is high, give her an admit, give him or her an admit. That I used to think used to happen in IIM, but not anymore. And it never used to happen at ISB.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I don't know about other places, but because I haven't honestly.
You're not eligible to apply to other schools.
Yeah, but I didn't consider any. It was just this. So I can't speak further, but yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Namrata, for your elaborate answer and thank you for your insights. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other queries, guys? Otherwise, we'd love to let Namrata go and enjoy her last relaxing weekend for at least next 6 months. ISB may weekends become more crazy than weekdays, trust me. You'd start dreading weekends after your first or second week. It gets so bad. All the deadlines of submission would be at 12 in the night, Sunday 12 in the night. And then Fridays will also be weekend for you. It's only 4 days a week classes, but Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they get very bad. Okay, not trying to scare you, just telling you what might come. Any queries, guys? Otherwise, we will end the call on a happy note and wish Namrata all the best for next 1 year. Okay, so I don't think there are any queries. Thanks a lot, Namrata, for this call. It was really, really needed. I keep doing myth busting and all, but I think straight away coming from a horse mouth, I mean someone who has just been through the process. I think it was really, really valuable for everyone who attended the call. And thank you. Keep me updated. Keep sending pictures.
Of course.
week and everything that you would be doing at ISB. And yeah, all the best. And feel free to anything, any help you need where you think I might help, please feel free to message me.
100%. Thank you. Thank you. If there's anything anybody wants to ask, they can just reach out. I'm on the group still.
Yes.
And Anshul has.
I don't think you'll be in the group for long. You will leave because you'll become a part of 100 of groups very soon. I'm sure you're already in 10 WhatsApp groups for ISB you're a part of.
There's a community that has 101 groups.
So
already.
I can totally imagine. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Bye, Anshul.
Thanks,
Bye, guys.
Mamta. All the best. Bye.
Bye.